Happy Federal Territory Day! Yay! Kuala Lumpur has been declared as the Federal Territory of Malaysia on the 1st February of 1974. Labuan and Putrajaya joined the Federal Territory Club Party in 1984 and 2001 respectively. There are various stories about history of Kuala Lumpur out there. How the history of Kuala Lumpur, who's the first ruler, but here's the one thing. Why Malaysia need a federal territory? Is a federal territory considered a state in Malaysia? Let me explain all. And firstly, welcome to GEO Malaysia. So a little bit history first. Kuala Lumpur has been the capital of independent Malaya in 1957. Then, after the Federation of Malaysia formed, the capital since 1963. However, interestingly, up until 1974, Kuala Lumpur is actually part of the state of Selangor, which is part of the 13th state in Malaysia. And at the same time, Kuala Lumpur is also the capital city of the state of Selangor. And here is where the issue began. In the Article 154 of the Federal Constitution of Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur is the legal capital city. And again, in the same article, any motion to move the capital city of Malaysia outside Selangor need the consent of the ruler of Selangor. But since the after independence, like everything went fine until 1969 election, when the ruling alliances under the leadership of Tunku Abdul Rahman, the first Prime Minister of Malaysia, lose 2/3 majority in the national election. And to add salt to the wound, the ruling Alliances Party also lose majority in Selangor, which contained the federal capital city of Kuala Lumpur. Then bad thing turned worse. Riot. People are fighting against each other, but I'm not going to deep to that. Instead of asking what happened in 1969, it's much better rational to ask what happened next. It's much more comfortable and healing. It's much more real to what we need to do today. When things settles afterward, the next person in power, second Prime Minister Tun Abdul Razak, decided to carve out Kuala Lumpur from the state of Selangor and make the city under direct rule of federal government. And after a series of negotiations with the state of Selangor, Kuala Lumpur was transferred into the federal rule on the 1st of February 1964. However, Kuala Lumpur is still the capital city of the state of Selangor, even though it was not part of the state anymore until the newly planned city of Shah Alam ready by 1978, and then the state government of Selangor moved there. Have you ever thought that how the idea of making Kuala Lumpur a federal city came from? Come on, there might be another city in the world that could be wrecked by another riot, right? Actually, there is in the United States. Pennsylvania Mutiny of 1783 caused the creation of the Washington DC as the world knows today. Washington DC, District of Columbia, was created as an area free from any state control because actually the United States of America learned the really hard way 240 years ago. Okay, let me explain how the idea of federal territory or district is. In the year 1783, a disgruntled soldier marched to Philadelphia, the former capital city of the United States, which is then part of the state of Pennsylvania. They marched towards the Congress Hall and rioted due to unpaid salary. The thing was, Pennsylvania leaders were not looking the mutiny seriously, perhaps because they were sympathetic with the unpaid soldier because they need to buy food and stuff. And at the end, the US Congress decided to create their own federal district within their own control, away from the state control. Then what is the connection between the Kuala Lumpur and then the Washington DC history? First of all, Kuala Lumpur and Washington DC have some similarities that are helplessly identical. And secondly, the first and second Prime Minister of Malaysia, Tunku Abdul Rahman and Tun Abdul Razak, have known to visit Washington DC during their tenure. And unsurprisingly, the idea to create federal territory in Malaysia could be originated from why Washington DC existed. a federally controlled area without any interference from any member state in the federation. Come on, there are other federated countries that carve out the land to make their own federal territory. For example, Australia has the Australia Capital Territory, which contains Canberra, the capital city of Australia, which has been chosen as a compromise between the feuding Aussie cities of Sydney and Melbourne. Whereas Mexico has Mexico City, which is a federal city distinct from any Mexican states. Brazil has Distrito Federal, which contains the capital city of Brasilia. So does Nigeria, Argentina, and India. And last but not least, you want to ask, is the federal territory is a state? And the answer is simple, no. And the reason is also simple, because there is no state assembly. The whole country actually control the federal territory, and much the federal territory actually lack local representative. Even in Kuala Lumpur, there is no state election, there is no local election. So yeah, power up. And there you have it, a little background of why Kuala Lumpur is a federal territory. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something new about Malaysia and something new about Kuala Lumpur today. And again, happy Federal Territory Day. Peace go out.